Good afternoon. It's an honor and a pleasure for me to be here today in Jamestown to introduce you to the New York State Attorney General, Eric Schneiderman. My name is Keith McCafferty. I'm a managing attorney with Legal Assistance of Western New York, and I manage our foreclosure prevention program, or our Homeowner Protection Program, across a 13-county region that includes all of the Southern Tier and the Finger Lakes. For the last 3 years, the Attorney General's office has provided Legal Assistance of Western New York, as well as other legal aid providers and housing counseling agencies around the state, with funding to operate a homeowner protection program. We provide a full range of civil legal services to the clients that we serve, and we have 7 offices across the Southern Tier and the Finger Lakes, including an office right here in Jamestown. We partner with other housing counseling agencies, such as Belmont Housing in this area. And together we help struggling homeowners negotiate affordable housing modifications. You can see the statistics here that the Attorney General will discuss. For Legal Assistance of Western New York, we've served 888 clients over the past 3 years who were in danger of losing their home through foreclosure, and we have prevented 220 foreclosures in those cases. We currently have, of those 888 clients, we have over 300 cases currently open and active, and many of those cases are also going to result in foreclosures being prevented. We've all seen how the foreclosure crisis has affected our communities with abandoned homes that become eyesores and a source of blight. And the Attorney General here in New York has been at the forefront of really trying to do things to help with that situation. He's made a tremendous commitment to alleviating the issues with the Homeowner Protection Program and the Mortgage Assistance Program, a new program to give loans to folks like our clients who are just trying to get a mortgage modification, and they just need a little bit of money to help them become eligible for that modification. And the MAP program, the Mortgage Assistance Program, provides them with that little boost that they need to actually qualify for a modification of the mortgage and save their home from foreclosure. So we're doing great work keeping people in their homes, and we're very grateful for the Attorney General's commitment, and so happy to have him here today. And I'll introduce you now to Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you for coming out. Thank you, Keith, for the introduction. I'm very pleased to be here. And thank you and your colleagues in Legal Assistance of Western New York for all the great work you've been doing with our Homeowner Protection Program, or what we call the HOP program. I'm very pleased we're also joined today by the Executive Director, Mark Geis, the Chairman, Peter Lombardi, Development Director, Vince DeJoy, and they work on the Chautauqua County Land Bank. And this is a group that has been remarkable because the other land banks in the state are all in pretty big cities, and Chautauqua is the one county that got ahead of everyone else and set up a land bank very quickly. And we'll say a little more about that later, but they're doing really wonderful work to rehab houses and combat blight in the county. We're going to hear a little more about that later, but I also want to start by introducing some of my colleagues in government who are here with me. The Mayor of Jamestown, Sam Tracy, our County Executive, Vince Horrigan, New York State Assemblyman Andrew Goodell, Jamestown City Council President Greg Rabb, Dunkirk Mayor A.J. Dulce, and the County Legislature, Elizabeth Rankin, is she here? Yep, Elizabeth. And a representative also from Congressman Tom Reed's office. So the fact that everyone is here is reflective of the fact that the team of public officials in Chautauqua County has done a tremendous job of pulling together and working together along with the great nonprofit housing agencies here, and you have produced great results for the county. I'm very proud of the work our office has been able to do with you, and we are a long way from done with this process, as I will explain. There should be more resources coming, and I'm very excited about going forward. The reason I'm here today is to announce that we just completed the 3rd year of our Homeowner Protection Program of HOP. HOP is an unprecedented program to provide funding for housing, counseling, and legal services agencies all across New York to ensure that no New Yorker loses their home because they can't get to a lawyer or they don't know about a mortgage modification program they might qualify for. And we are announcing in our report, Staying Home, that we're about to hit our 50,000th family all across the state, 50,000 families served by the HOP network. Thank you. And we have out in Western New York and the Southern Tier a significant number of those families. There were a lot of communities here that were hit very, very hard by the crash. There's a lot of communities with a significant number of abandoned properties, and we're very, very pleased that we've been able to work with this great coalition of officials and advocates to really get this rolling. But again, this is a new program. This program just got started 3 years ago. It took a while to ramp up, and as we've done it, as I'll explain, we've learned and we've added new programs and developed new ideas in cooperation with the colleagues who are working with me. So the context of this is sort of unusual. When I was first elected Attorney General, we were in the midst of the worst housing crisis in the history of the United States. American families lost $7.4 trillion of home equity in the crash of 2008. The wealth of the American middle class was essentially wiped out because most of them had their wealth in the equity in their homes. 2 years later, in 2010, 12,000 homes here in Chautauqua County were vacant, almost a fifth of the community's total housing stock. Simply put, the housing market in New York collapsed, and there was no relief for the people and the communities that needed it the most. So I made it a priority to try and address this issue. And as some of you know, there was a deal on the table for all of the 50 attorneys general plus the federal government to settle a deal with the major banks. And I was the first and for a long time the only state attorney general to refuse to sign on to a deal unless there was a full investigation of the banks in an effort to really get some more relief to the communities that suffered as a result of their reckless misconduct. And as a result of those efforts, in the President's State of the Union address in January 2012, he announced the creation of an unprecedented federal-state working group to examine the conduct that had caused the crash of the housing market, and he appointed me as co-chair of that working group, which I think is the first time a state AG has chaired a group that included supervision of federal agencies. So we got to work and started the investigations, and then the investigations led to negotiations, and our working group so far has recovered well over $60 billion nationally, and over $4 billion of that has come to New York. And I assure you that I am very committed to making sure that New York gets everything it can out of these deals. And there are negotiations underway right now with bank number 4, and I look forward to providing more relief going forward. But the important thing about this really is how well we've worked and how well we've worked with people like the folks who are standing with me today to ensure that the relief does get to the communities and the families that were hurt. We have the most comprehensive, multifaceted approach to the housing crisis of any state in the country, and we've developed programs that are models that sometimes, in fact, are being used in other places, but after we develop them. So the first step was the HOP program. When I took office in January 2011, 345,000 New York families were facing foreclosure. And I quickly learned that about half of them had never had a chance to talk to a lawyer or a housing counselor in any stage of the process. So when the first funds we received went to the HOP program, a Homeowner Protection Program, and 3 years later, we are now funding almost 90 legal services and housing counseling agencies across the state to help New Yorkers stay in their homes. And as I mentioned, at some point this month, we're hitting our 50,000th family. As a result of this work, thousands of families have gotten their loans written down, their rates reduced. Lots of families in New York are eligible for mortgage modifications that the banks agree to provide as a part of the deals we make with them, but sometimes they don't know what they're eligible for, and that's where our HOP partners come in, and also our colleagues in local government, because they often do refer people to our HOP agencies. I want every New Yorker to know about everything they're eligible for. We will do anything we can do to help people stay in their homes, keep their homes. The foreclosure hurts a community. Kids get pulled out of school. It affects employment. It's something that we are committed to doing everything we can do to prevent. And so we started up with the HOP program, and then we quickly learned that for some families, even if they were should be eligible, there was a small debt they owed that made that had the bank not want to do a modification. needed a mortgage modification, but they had a small lien, unpaid payments on a second mortgage, or sometimes medical debt. So, because in this economy, even the hardest working people, someone can fall ill, you can have an emergency and fall behind. So we created, as Keith mentioned, the New York State Mortgage Assistance Program, or MAP, which makes no interest loans available, and this is done through our HOP counseling and legal services agencies. Small no interest loans available to people, and we're talking about very small sums of money that stand in between people and many times and their mortgage modification that can keep them in their home, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000. And they are making these no interest loans available. It's a new program, but in less than a year, we've already had our HOP network approve MAP loans, hundreds of MAP loans totaling more than $9 million, and more than $2 million has gone to folks in Western New York and the Southern Tier. Again, there are some counties that are more active than others, and none more active than Chautauqua. So we're encouraging everyone in every part of the state to reach out for this wonderful relief that's available. And our learning continued. We had HOP and MAP, and we realized that there were scam artists who were creating phony mortgage modification teams, essentially pretending that they were HOP counselors. Or worse, from my point of view, these scams are really despicable because they target people who are victims. These folks are victims of the housing crash, and they make them victims again. I was riding in my car, and I heard a radio ad come on saying, all 50 of the state's attorneys general, including your attorney general, have settled these cases with the banks. Your mortgage may have already been written off, or you may be eligible for modification. Call the blah, blah law firm. So I wrote down the number, and I did call the blah, blah, blah law firm. And we took them to court, and they are no longer running a mortgage rescue scam. But we realized that the call didn't go the way they were expecting. So we realized we can't sue, and other folks who protect the public from consumer fraud can't sue everybody. So we created a tool to empower every New Yorker to find out on their own if a mortgage refinancing scheme is on the level. We created a web-based app called agscamhelp.com, where you can go on your computer or your smartphone, and you can check to see if a mortgage assistance company is legitimate. You type the company's name into the search box, and it's connected up so you can immediately tell if these guys have been vetted by either our office and are part of the HOP network, or by the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development. If they have not, then they're not a legitimate operation. The app will also connect people with the nearest HOP program, and those are all excellent programs that provide free housing counseling and legal services. Thousands of people have visited this already, and it's a brand new app. We're very excited about its application. And as I mentioned earlier, we also are very excited about the work being done through the land banks. Land banks buy up abandoned properties, and we had passed legislation for land banks in, I think, 2010. But as happens in Albany sometimes, we authorized you guys to set up a land bank, but provided no funding to get the land bank started. So my office, through our negotiations with the bank, started to provide the funding. And they buy abandoned properties, rehab them for affordable housing, help clear up the neighborhoods, because we realized that if you kept your home, in spite of the housing crash, but you're on a street surrounded by abandoned properties, you're also still a victim. So we're excited about the work that we're doing here and work we're doing around the state. And I wanted to announce the 3-year report here because Chautauqua in many ways is an example to a lot of counties. You don't have to be in a big city to have a land bank. And this is something we are hoping that there are more folks that will set up land banks. There are a couple of other parts of the state where they're doing paperwork, but this is something that is tremendously important to us. We don't want any family to lose their home because they can't find a housing counselor or a lawyer. We don't want any family to lose their home because they need a small loan to qualify for a modification. We don't want anyone to lose their home because of a mortgage rescue scam, and we want to go beyond the families that are struggling to keep their homes and help the communities that were hurt by the foreclosure crisis and are dealing with blight and dealing with abandoned properties. So we have a hotline, 855-466-3456, or here you can contact our colleagues who are standing with me today. We have the most comprehensive, aggressive approach to the housing crisis in the country. I'm very proud of the relief we've brought, but it only works if people know about it. It only works if people reach out. We are working legislatively and through regulation to deal with the problem of zombie properties. We've had strong support from your local government officials here on that issue. These are properties where the banks have started foreclosure proceedings, but they haven't been finished, and the family leaves the house. So the bank refuses to take care of it. Local government has to come in and try and maintain it, or it becomes a lot of these places become targets for criminals. They bring down property values. And we did manage to negotiate some regulations this year so that the banks are required to follow better protocols. But what we're offering them in the legislation is really a new, that they will create a registry so we know who all the zombie properties, where all the zombie properties are, so local governments can find them out, and that they have an obligation to maintain them once they've initiated foreclosure proceedings and the property is abandoned. In return, we offer the banks expedited foreclosure in those situations. So I'm hopeful that we can pass that bill in the coming session. But this is all done in partnership. This is all done in partnership, and the folks who are standing here are essential to every step of the process that I've described. We work well because we work well together. And we are planning to expand the number of land banks. We're planning on further funds coming from other settlements with banks. And I look forward to working with all of you. And as we continue this effort to help the communities that were hurt so badly by the housing crisis, and to help get justice for the victims of the crash here in Jamestown, across Chautauqua County, and all across the great state of New York. So thank you, and thank you for working with us to get up to 50,000 families helped. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Mark Geis, the Executive Director of the Chautauqua County Land Bank that I've just been talking about, who's been working hard to transform and revitalize neighborhoods all over the county.
Thank you, Attorney General Schneiderman, there you are, for your kind remarks, for visiting our county, and also for supporting the land banks. You know, we've had such an active board, and I thought it'd be prudent for me to acknowledge some of the members here today, because it's really has been a joint success because of our board. And Jim Cafflish, I see back there, is on the board. Vince DeJoy is the vice chair. He's on our board. Gina Paradis is in the back here. She's our administrative director. Jen Cameron is a staff member. Peter Lombardi is our chair. I think I saw Hugh Butler is on our board. If I miss anybody, I'm sorry, but it's really been a cooperative effort of our board. We are extremely grateful to the OAG. Of course, when they created this, the law to create these land banks, we really didn't have the means by which to get it up and running. We really didn't have the funding, although we had some seed money from the county, so that was very helpful. But you know, it's enabled us to get up and running, to build some capacity, and hopefully that will support us as we grow. We originally came out, we wanted to be a model for other rural areas looking to create a land bank. If you look at the other state land banks, a lot of them are larger market areas. We're a population of 130,000. We have some special needs that other communities don't have, and we're hoping that we're figuring out ways, creative ways to address those needs that can be passed on to other areas. The support of the OAG has allowed us to do several things. One in particular, and we know what the cost of demolition is in New York State, was enabled us to do a lot of demolition of dilapidated homes that really were beyond fixing up. It allowed us to purchase and sell bank foreclosed properties. So we have a number of properties that were granted over to us. We have a side lot disposition program that's very active, and it enabled us to also develop marketing and a website for our land bank. To date, the land bank has acquired 120 properties, and 30 of those properties have been sold, resulting in over $1 million of private investment in those homes. 21 structures have been demolished, and the way we did that was we were using OAG money, leveraged with CDBG money with the cities, and also landfill credits from the county to demolish these homes. So 20 residential demos have been undertaken. Most of those are in Jamestown, but some rural ones as well, and several in Dunkirk. We've acquired 6 REO properties, real estate owned properties, from the banks through their foreclosure, 4 of which have been rehabbed. and 18 side lots have been acquired and granted over. Our side lot disposition program basically works where if we can get an owner, an adjacent owner to acquire it, then they merge it with their lot and they take care of it. So that's been very successful. A few weeks ago, I was with several of the land bank members, and we met with the proud owners of a home in Jamestown, and these people were overjoyed. And Mayor Tracy said something that I'm not going to forget. He said, you know, the land bank's not simply improving neighborhoods; it's changing lives. And I think this epitomizes in our discussions with other land banks what we're all trying to do. It's not just about that; it's about people's lives. So, again, thank you, Mr. Schneiderman, and your staff, Dina and others, New York State, and everyone else that's been involved in supporting the land banks.
Thanks very much.
Yeah,
Thank you. And you see why I wanted to announce the report here. You have in fact become a model for smaller counties on this, and there's several we hope that are going to have land banks in the not too distant future. Now I'd like to welcome one of our key allies in making this all happen, the County Executive, Vince Horgan.
Mr. Attorney General, thank you. Thank you. I noticed when you came, you were eyeing up my lapel pin of Chautauqua County, so I have one for you. I also want to welcome you to Chautauqua County, the work you do, and to this beautiful facility, the Robert H. Jackson facility, where we not only celebrate the legacy of Robert H. Jackson and the work that he done in bringing justice, but also the programming and the people that are here are truly wonderful. Across Chautauqua County, of course, every one of us is trying to make this the best possible place to live, work, and play. And as we go through our cities and we look at our properties, the land bank has given us something special. It's a process to be able to look at these blighted properties and say, we have a plan, we have a way to do this. Mark Geis has absolutely been the passionate driver, and I congratulate him in the work that they've done. But the other thing this has done, it's brought our towns, our cities, everybody together. Even 19 legislators all agree. I couldn't say that yesterday, but they're on board now, and we are bringing together everybody because we realize what this program can do for us. We're very, very thankful for your support, and if there's other counties that are not interested, we will gladly receive the funds, and we will make you proud. But I want to thank you very much for coming. This is a great program. Your staff's very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. And finally, we want to hear a few more words from the Jamestown Mayor, Sam Tracy.
I guess I'm number 4 on the list. That would make me the cleanup hitter here. And I'm very grateful as a baseball fanatic and my favorite team, the Yankees, that their cleanup hitter has a little bit more physical stature than the cleanup hitter at the event here today. Mark Geis, thank you for your terrific work in the land bank and your comments. I want you to know that you gave all of my remarks for me. I committed all those facts and figures to memory, and now there's nothing left for me to say. So let me just leave you with this. I would entitle my remarks as Promises Made, Promises Kept. Back in February, our Attorney General, I had the opportunity to listen to him speak at the New York Conference of Mayors meeting in Albany. He literally brought the crowd to its feet, and no, not simply because he was the last speaker before the luncheon session, because he was out there saying things that were important to communities across the state. As the state's most important, powerful law enforcement official, he understood what's important to us on the home front. And it struck a chord and it resonated well in that audience. And I had the opportunity to have a brief chat with my friend, the Attorney General, at the end of his remarks, and I invited him to come to Jamestown to share on the ground here. And I assured him that there was another city in New York State west of Buffalo, so, and it's us. And he agreed. And I asked him to come to Jamestown, number one, to share his message, to share the story of what's happening across the Empire State and what he and his tremendous office are leading the charge on, but also so that we could share with him and he could see firsthand the terrific work that we were able to do, as my friend the county executive said, together as a broader community with the tools that they were providing to us and the support that they were providing to us from a legal standpoint. He agreed to come to Jamestown. He's here. Promise made, promise kept. I seem to recall a few things from the year 2010 and early 2011, with the Attorney General indicating what was on his priority list. And with everything that was on that list, with corporate corruption, with problems in ethics in government, the financial meltdown, he understood the crisis that was happening at the local level all over the state in neighborhoods that were literally ripping communities apart because they were deteriorating from the ground up. And I seem to recall him making a promise and a pledge that he and his office would do something about it. And they would stand up and deliver the tools that we needed to start making an impact at the local level. And that's a promise kept in my mind. So, Mr. Attorney General, I want you to know that because you have been standing with us and supporting us over the past few years, literally and figuratively, we are all standing here with you today saying, continue to go get them. You are doing truly important work that is not just rebuilding communities, but it's rebuilding lives, because we understand there are vulnerable people out there that are the subject of these predatory practices that your office is bringing to a close, while at the same time delivering resources and tools to us that we need to have to get the job done and keep the fight going on the zombie property legislation that needs to happen in the state. That's a tool we can't do without. We need to have it in a city like this and cities all over the state. So thank you for coming to Jamestown.
Thank you all. It's great to be here. This is a beautiful part of the state. I also want to note, we have a group of law students who've come down from Buffalo. And another great thing about Jamestown and Chautauqua County, there's law students. I like to speak to law students. I spoke at the commencement, actually. They get picked on, lawyer jokes and things like that. Come here and look at the career of Robert Jackson. And it gives you, should give you a lot of pride in your profession and understanding of what you can do. And it's great that you have a center in his honor here, and it's a pleasure to be with you all.